The member for Melton.
Thank you, Acting Speaker, and I rise today to also contribute to the Gambling and Liquor and Legislation Amendment Bill 2022. And firstly, I just want to commend the contribution by the member for Buninyong and her personal contribution. It was fantastic, and it puts a different perspective on gambling and the effects of gambling. And we know that many people suffer through the addiction of gambling. So I thank her for her contribution. I also just want to add that this bill is a technical bill, and the Andrews Labor government is very serious about tackling gambling-related harm and making sure our regulatory framework is fit for purpose. Of course, the government has also consulted many industry stakeholders, and a lot of the changes that are in this bill has come from feedback from those industry stakeholders, and that's why we're moving ahead with the introduction of this bill. The bill seeks to make amendments to the Gambling Regulation Act 2003, the Casino Control Act 1991 and the Liquor Control Reform Act 1998. And the amendments aim to increase competition, reduce red tape and improve the operation of some legislative provisions. Of course, this bill makes an important change to the arrangements for setting the term of future wagering and betting licences. We know that community organisations and charities holding raffles provide so much, and fundraising is critical to those that facilitate this. And I know with my involvement in a lot of sporting clubs, we relied on raffles every year to sort of raise money to keep the clubs going. So we're cutting the red tape for these organisations and increasing the threshold required to have a permit for a raffle. I think that's a great change. This bill will also cut red tape by extending the timeline for payment of unclaimed prizes to the Treasurer. And currently, these are not permitted under separate, largely federal legislation, but the GRA is still unclear on this at this stage. As a result, people may believe that these to be allowed, and we find ourselves in a situation where new licence applications are being made that cannot be granted. And these changes will provide greater clarity. Of course, amendments in the bill will remove the cross-ownership provisions, restricting the monitoring licensee from also providing gaming machine technical services to venue operators. And these changes aim to increase competition for future monitoring licence and bring Victoria into line with other Australian states. The bill also will repeal obsolete provisions in the Gambling Regulation Act that relate to the former gaming operators. And the bill will also repeal the Interactive Gaming Licence Framework to avoid overlap with the Commonwealth Interactive Gambling Act 2001. It also makes changes to the way clubs and hotels handle unpaid gaming machine jackpot winnings to make it easier for venue operators to return these funds to the players. And the bill addresses a regulatory gap in the Liquor Control Reform Amendment Act to ensure all supply of liquor remotely is captured by recent changes to the Act. And the bill includes amendments to the Casino Control Act to permit the casino to pay winnings by EFT consistent with the same requirements as hotels and club venue operators. This bill will reduce the risk of gambling related by prohibiting online minor gambling activities, including bingo, fundraising events and lucky envelopes. And the reforms are unrelated to the planned legislation which will establish the new liquor and gambling regulator arrangements and the other reforms arising from the Royal Commission into the Casino Operator and Licence. It will come as no surprise to many who know me that I enjoy a bit of a punt on most forms of gambling. I've certainly thrown the odd pineapple into a poker machine, and I've had many a bet on horse races and the trots and the dogs. There's not much that I haven't bet on. And I always have a flutter on lotto, of course. We always dream of the jackpot, and I dream of it because I always see new caravans on the horizon. I would love to purchase another big caravan one day, and maybe out of some lotto winnings, you never know. But I am passionate about the races, and I don't believe I'm addictive to it, but I am passionate about it. And certainly in my electorate in Melton, we have fantastic harness racing facilities at Tabcorp Park. And it was only last Saturday night I had to attend an event for the Melton City Council, and it was the Melton Plate, which was a big trots race. And I was fortunate enough, I backed the winner. But, you know, the good thing about that facility, putting aside the harm of gambling, is that for most people it's an entertainment facility. And on this particular night, out on the lawns in front of the grandstands, there were many families that were out enjoying activities, carnival activities out on the lawn. So while there's gambling involved, there were a lot of other activities there for families, and while we need to deal with the harms of gambling, these sort of facilities provide entertainment and they provide some local jobs. I've also attended that facility at Tabcorp Park, and I've spoken about this before. There's an event each year as a fundraiser for ovarian cancer, and it's the Team Teal, and it's through the trotting industry that a high level of money is raised through the trots races, where female drivers, if they win those races, then, as I say, there's much money raised to contribute to improving outcomes for women in regard to ovarian cancer, and also to provide greater teaching and research and things like that. And it's a really worthy event. Tabcorp Park is also, it's an amazing asset for, as I say, events and entertainment in Melton, and it creates a lot of jobs in the local area, both in events, hospitality and accommodation jobs. But again, I'll say I'm aware of the harm that gambling does and can do in our communities, especially in an electorate like mine. So in the outer metropolitan electorates, we see some of the greatest harm from gambling from those who are often, the least able to afford to bet, and of course suffering those consequences. And again, I'll refer back to the member for Buninyong's contribution about how it can affect an individual and the family. And there's obviously a lot more work to be done in that space in regard to gambling addiction and harm from gambling. So for many families and partners, of course, problem gamblers, the COVID restrictions over the last couple of years sort of may have come as a bit of a reprieve as the pokie venues were closed. But it's important that, as a government, that we have a strong regulatory system in place to prevent the harm that can stem from problem gambling. And in my electorate in Melton, I can think of only a few venues. I think we've got around about 5 gambling venues that have poker machines. But of course, the losses in Melton are some of the highest in the state, unfortunately. And I did happen to write a letter to the Melton City Council a couple of years ago in regard to the Melton Country Club, who were seeking to have their licence extended. I think it's the Essendon Football Club that owns the Melton Country Club, or has the licence for the Melton Country Club. They were seeking to extend their licence, and I had no objection to the extension of the licence. I felt the timing of the request was a bit unusual. But one of the issues also that came out of that was extending the operating hours of the country club. And I think it was extending it from 1 a.m. finished to 3 a.m. And I made a point to the Melton City Council that no good happens in a gambling den after midnight, technically. But I accept the fact that they were open till 1, but then they wanted to extend it to 3 o'clock. And it was all my feeling. Look, and I've been in gambling dens at 3 o'clock in the morning, but it was mainly to get a drink more than gamble. So as people would know, me going to get a drink late at night is not unusual. But, if you've got gamblers at pokies after 1 a.m, say, they're not people that are there for entertainment. They're there because they're desperate. And I think, from my point of view, I was trying to make the point to the Melton City Council that we've got to protect these people, and one way of protecting them is reducing the hours that they can spend all their money at a machine. And I would have thought that spending your money at a machine up until 1 o'clock is plenty enough, rather than going till 3 o'clock. So it didn't work. The council didn't take that on board. But anyway, that's the way it goes. But look, this is a good bill, and I commend this bill to the House.